stop mortgaging our children's futures. If we keep running up these debts, history shows that we have to debase the currency, print more money, and hyperinflation takes place, which is obviously the greatest enemy of the middle class. Mr. President, there are provisions such as the Buy America provision, Davis-Bacon, a number of other provisions in the bill which have nothing to do with jobs, have nothing to do with stimulating the economy. In fact, Davis-Bacon and Buy America are very, very great additional costs to the taxpayer. The president last night, speaking to the Democrats, said, so then you get the argument, this is not a stimulus bill, this is a spending bill. What do you think a stimulus is? That's the whole point. The whole point, Mr. President, is to enact tax cuts and spending measures that truly stimulate the economy. There are billions and tens of billions of dollars in this bill which will have no effect within 3, 4, 5 or more years or ever. And we are talking about a lot of money. I used to come down this floor and object to provisions that were thousands of dollars, then hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then millions. $50 million in funding for the National Endowment for the Arts. All of us are for the arts. Tell me how that creates any significant number of jobs. After-school snack program is probably a good idea. Do we really want to spend $726 million on it? So here we are, Mr. President. My other colleagues want to speak, and so I'll be speaking later on, and I think it's important that others do as well. But here we are. We're in a situation where the overwhelming majority of Republicans, in fact all, voted for both the Trigger Amendment and for our alternative, which was $421 billion in spending. And there are behind-the-scenes negotiations going on so that they can try to pick off 2 or 3 Republicans. Mr. President, you can have a bill bipartisan that has 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 Republicans out of 535 members of Congress. You can call it an agreement, but you cannot call it a bipartisan agreement. And that's not what the American people want today. Yes, unemployment's up to 7.6%. The American people expect us to sit down together. My recommendation is I see him on the floor, the distinguished chairman of the Budget Committee, senator from North Dakota, who probably knows as much about budget issues and spending than anybody, and others be appointed by both leaders to sit down in a room so that we can come out with a bipartisan agreement. That means leadership. That means involvement, not just of a couple, 3, who may be, in some respects, not reflective of the whole 41 Republican members of the United States Senate. So maybe we have to go back to square one here. Maybe we should go back to the beginning here, because it was flawed when it began, when the authors of this legislation from the House said, we won, so we wrote the bill. That's not bipartisanship. So I urge both Senator McConnell and Senator Reid to appoint a group of senators to sit down together and hash this thing out, because we share the same goal of stimulating this economy and creating jobs, and we realize we have to spend money to do it. But we also hope we realize, most of us should realize, if we mortgage our children's futures, they've already got a $10 trillion debt. This is another trillion. There's going to be a omnibus appropriations bill coming down the pike. They say that there's going to have to be a TARP 3. Mr. President, we are looking at spending as far as we can see for which we do not have revenue. So, we can have a modest, when I say modest, I take it back. We can have a bill that is $500 billion. We can have a bill that truly stimulates this economy with tax cuts that, in the view of economists, do create jobs. Not a one-time injection of sending people a check. It didn't work the last time we did it under the previous administration. It's the American bill with 3 or 4 Republicans out of 535 members of Congress. Let's try to sit down one more time, all of us, and come out with something that truly creates jobs, truly stimulates the economy, and restores the faith and confidence and trust in the American people in the Congress of the United States, which is very badly eroded and as at historic lows. These are tough times, Mr. President. Let's act tough for a change and get something done rather than have some partisan result which the American people, certainly a significant percentage of them, will resoundingly reject because it does not have fiscal responsibility. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President. Senator from Montana.
President, I yield 5 minutes to the Senator from North Dakota.
Senator from North Dakota.
I thank the chairman and the manager of the bill and want to thank him for his extraordinary efforts and the effort of the chairman of the Appropriations Committee here on the floor. You know, I think maybe now is the time we need to have calm reflection on where we are and where we're headed. All of us know that this economy is in desperately serious trouble. We had a report this morning, nearly 600,000 jobs lost this month, or in the previous month. 600,000 jobs. That's now in the last 4 months we've lost more than 2 million jobs. All of the indications are that we're going to lose millions of more jobs in this economy. So what must be done? Clearly, we need an economic recovery package. I think there would be virtually unanimous agreement on that fundamental point. So what works? Alan Sinai of Decision Economics ran models with his very well-regarded econometric model that shows the thing that works the best, the fastest, is government purchases of goods and services. Second thing that worked the best was transfer payments to states because states are otherwise going to cut their budgets. Why do those things work the best? Because they inject money into the economy the most rapidly and in a way that there is the greatest assurance that the money is spent. That is what is the key to short-term stimulus. Why? Because if you think about it, demand in the economy is falling. That's why GDP is dropping. That's why joblessness is increasing. And what do we do about it? You can't expect consumers to change course because they're worried about losing their jobs. You can't expect corporations to increase demand because their orders are falling. The only place to look for an increase in aggregate demand is to the federal government. That then raises the question, is what is the most effective way for the federal government to deploy its precious taxpayer dollars to give short-term lift to the economy, but not to burden us with increased debt looking ahead. That is why the first tests that were applied to this package were that it be timely, that is,